Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here with us in another podcast episode. Across many countries, the police are the first door to justice for survivors of gender based violence, and too often that door is effectively shut. Survivors report being blamed, dismissed, pressured to reconcile, or simply turned away when they try to file a complaint, which fuels deep mistrust of the entire justice system. Even when laws look strong on paper, weak police procedures, poor investigations, and a culture of impunity mean most cases never move beyond the station. The first interaction with a police officer can determine everything that follows: whether a case is reported or withdrawn, whether evidence is properly documented, whether a survivor is treated with dignity or discouraged from seeking justice at all. Yet, there are also emerging models like specialized GBV units and survivor-centered protocols that show a different kind of policing is possible. At Sahar, part of our work focuses on supporting grassroots leaders, human rights lawyers, and advocates to strengthen their coordination with the police. To give you a concrete example, in 2025 alone, our fellows engaged more than 1,200 actors across the justice system, including police officers, prosecutors, judges, and civil society leaders through trainings, consultation, and institutional partnerships. Today's conversations brings together three of those experiences. In Kenya, we have Hagin and Bridget, who are reshaping first response, setting up gender desks with female officers and connecting police, paralegals, and community health volunteers so cases in Bungoma County are properly identified, documented, and acted on. In Pakistan, we have Irfan and Sanrim, who are examining why a strong anti-rape law adopted in 2021 was still not translating into justice in practice, identifying crucial gaps in training procedures and institutional coordination in the SWAT region. And in Argentina, we have Jimena and Jamila, who are developing practical trainings to improve how complaints are received and processed by the police in Tierra del Fuego. So now we want to explore what happens inside institutions when police officers begin to engage differently with cases of gender-based violence, the barriers that still exist to implementing the law in practice, and how coordination between different actors can transform institutional responses. I am very excited today to start this conversation and to hear directly from all our fellows. I'm going to start my first question to Hagin, our fellow from Kenya. Because in Kenya, your work connected community actors and police officers. I want to ask you what changed when these actors started working together.
Thank you, Katarina, for having me today. As introduced, my name is Hagin Otwati. I am the Programs Coordinator at Gumzo Youth Group. We aim to strengthen community advocacy and also access to justice, health, and advocacy for the gender and sexual minorities in Bungoma County. Yes, thank you so much for your question. Now, what really improved, just as you have said earlier on, that indeed before our fellowship with Sahar, we had gaps in terms of police engagements in terms of assisting clients to access justice when they had been victimized at the grassroots. We had cases which went under being not reported, and those which were reported, we had gaps in terms of how they were being reported. We also had community members whereby the community felt they were being not safe to be heard, and they were not safe spaces for them to be heard. And also we had instances whereby we had delay in terms of prosecution of each of cases because we didn't have support. But over time, with the collaboration that we have had trust being built among us actors, that is the community and the police officers. We have also had the cases being reported and that shows the trust between the police officers and the community is really getting stronger. We have also had improvement through our engagement, our structured community engagement by the use of paralegals. We have had these cases now being well documented and presented as statements in court. Yes, thank you.
Based on your answer, now I wanted to pass the floor to our fellows from Pakistan, Irfan and Sanrim, and I wanted to ask you specifically about the anti-rape law because Pakistan already have the anti-rape law, but the question is why wasn't it working in practice? So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Catalina. My name is Hello everyone. My name is Irfan Hussain Babak, and I'm a fellow with Sahar and working on the sexual violence response framework in Pakistan, and also working with the Awakening in District Swat Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And our work this past year has focused on understanding why Pakistan's Anti-Rape Act of 2021, which is genuinely a strong legislation, and it is not like translating into practice on the ground. Uh, this is the central question of our fellowship, and the honest answer is the law exists on paper, in near to like perfect form. The Anti-Rape Act of 2021, which mandates specialized investigation units, anti-rape crisis cells in hospitals, qualified medical legal officers, in-camera trials, a single recorded survivor statement, identity protection. It is genuinely a comprehensive piece of legislation, but the problem is that the implementation and infrastructure like was never built. Our baseline found that the anti-rape crisis cell at the Sadhu Sharif Teaching Hospital in District Swat was inaugurated. There was a ceremony, photograph, announcements, and then it was not functional, and there were several administrative failures. And also there is no like qualified medical legal officers there, and a casualty medical officer are filling the roles without any forensic trainings. And every single prosecutor we interviewed confirmed that the medical reports they receive from these officers do not meet the standards the act requires, and most of them. So we have a law that is technically good, and an implementation reality that is at like zero compliance on some of the most critical requirements. The gap is not the legislation, it is the absence of trained personnel, functional institutions, and any accountability mechanisms for non-compliance. Someone.
Additionally, yes, thank you, Arfan. You have given a detailed answer, but I want to add that the law is very strong, but unfortunately, implement the system is weak. Without training, resources, and the right mindset, implementation remain weak. There is a lack of resources, infrastructure such as forensic facilities. The crisis cell is built, but that is built only on the district level. So the survivor of belongs to far-fetched area, they have not access. And blaming the victim, stigma discourage the survivor from reporting their cases. In this way, the implementation is not that much strong as the law is. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandrine. Thank you, Irfan, for your answers. And now I wanted to pass and to move on from implementation specifically to police officers. Because, as you know, this is part of the main actors that we are discussing today, our topic. So I want to pass the floor to Jamila, because in Argentina, you focused specifically on the first police contact. So my question is, why this moment is so critical?
Muchas gracias, Catalina. Bueno, nosotras con Jimena realizamos una primera capacitación en la provincia de Tierra del Fuego, Antártida e Islas del Atlántico Sur, en Argentina. Lo que entendemos por el momento más crítico del inicio de una denuncia de violencia de género es el primer contacto policial. ¿Por qué lo entendemos como un momento crítico? Justamente porque es la primera vez que quizás una víctima entra en contacto con el Estado. Entonces, lo que intentamos trasladar es la importancia de la formación de la policía en la toma de esta denuncia, que es lo que puede hacer que se activen otros mecanismos de protección de las víctimas y que luego el proceso judicial pueda continuar de manera correcta. En este sentido, justamente lo que hicimos fue tratar de involucrar a oficiales de la justicia, como actores de la justicia, a la policía, entendiendo que deben también tener una formación en perspectiva de género y tratando de brindar herramientas que permitan entender la complejidad de la violencia de género a diferencia de otros delitos. De esta manera, lo que puede hacer es generar una mayor confiabilidad en el sistema institucional de las víctimas, porque en general muchas de las denuncias se pierden no en los tribunales, sino con el primer contacto policial. Si una víctima, por ejemplo, es minimizada en su relato, responsabilizada, entre otras cuestiones, es probable que desista del proceso judicial. Entonces, remarcamos mucho varios de los principios que rigen o que deberían regir en el proceso judicial, como el principio de no revictimización, la escucha activa, entre otras cuestiones, para garantizar que la víctima sienta confianza en el sistema y que pueda avanzar. Esto también es muy importante porque el primer contacto con la policía de una víctima de violencia de género implica también la protección o la recolección de prueba durante el proceso, evitar la revictimización, es decir, si se toma una primera denuncia que sea contundente, que sea clara, que tenga todos los elementos contextuales de la violencia de género, puede favorecer a que se eviten otras instancias de revictimización durante el propio sistema, por ejemplo, haciendo que la víctima tenga que relatar en distintas oportunidades su vivencia o el delito que viene a denunciar.
And now I will pass the floor to Hagin, because now that we are hearing about the engagement with police officers, for us it's also important to understand better the situation in Kenya due to this engagement. So the question specifically for Hagin is, did you see changes in reporting patterns or survivor trust or case follow through after this specific engagement? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your question. Yes, we did see change. We did see a pattern of change in terms of the uptake to services. The clients felt a safe space within the community. It's good to note that we developed an app that we could see and we could record the cases as they were being documented by our paralegals from our structured paralegal mechanism, whereby we could see the cases that were being recorded. So we saw an increase in cases. We also saw the build of trust and collaboration between the police officers and ourselves. They took us in as stakeholders and allies, unlike the resistance that was there before. Then again, we also saw in terms of the documentation, the evidence documentation in court, they were being substantiated in terms of justifiable that these cases were being also handled by the police officers, because you understand that some of the gaps that we get from as CSOs is the authentifying the documents that we submit in court. So having a police there boosted our submission of evidences to court, and also that assured that that trust within the judicial system between the police officers and us as the community, and also the courts, that the courts will also give justice. So yes, we did see change.
I want to pass the floor again to Pakistan, to Irfan and Sanrim, because as you mentioned before, you are also facing barriers, but we want to understand more what forms of institutional resistance or structural barriers did you encounter when working with police, or with implementation?
Yes, the resistance is like really explicit, and nobody like said the law doesn't matter. It was more structural and attitudinal, and the first barrier is like simply, I would say, awareness. Like in our survey, we found out that 21% of our respondents had received any training on the act at all. So when we talk about institutional resistance, we are partly talking about institutions that do not know how or what they are supposed to be doing. So in certain terms, we cannot hold someone accountable for a standard they have never been taught. And the second barrier is role boundary confusions. Like police officers believe like FIR registration is their job, and everything that follows is someone else's problem. The medical legal officers believe their job ends when they hand the report to the investigating officer. Nobody sees themselves as part of a chain. So the coordination mechanism the act mandates, like monthly interagency meetings, the anti-rape crisis cell oversight, simply do not exist in practice. The third barrier is, and perhaps the hardest, is the parallel justice system that exists here. The jirga operates alongside the formal system, and there are cases where community level compromises is brokered before the formal process could take its course. 20% of police officers named this directly. Working with police on implementation means you are also inevitably working against informal systems that have significant social legitimacy in that context. Uh, Pakistan has invested enormous political capital in the Anti-Rape Act. It was passed in 2021, then the rules were notified in 2023. But if the police are not equipped and accountable, survivors interact with the law only in theory. In practice, they encounter an officer who doesn't know the act, who may re traumatize them at first contact, so who may delay the FIRs, who may not refer them to the anti rape crisis cells. That first encounters determines whether the case enters the formal system at all. If police are not part of the solution, the law is effectively inaccessible to the very people it was designed to protect.
Sanrim, do you want to complement Erfan's answer?
Yes, I just wanted to add that lack of women police officers, non-availability of special mobile van or ambulance for a victim, and also the old mindset that blaming the victim, and of course no accountability. These are all the barriers, institutional barriers, and due to these barriers, the implementation is like the law is not that much implementing in the area uh, whatever is written in the papers.
My final question to Jamila again, because despite the barriers, despite the issues that we are hearing also today, um, there is media involved. And in Argentina, the media was a positive outcome. So I wanted to ask you, um, the initiative that you did regarding the training with police officers, because it received media attention. So, what was driving that public response, and what do you think it revealed about broader societal concerns around police responses to gender based violence?
En primer lugar, creo que la atención mediática respondió a una preocupación social muy profunda. En Argentina existe un fuerte debate público sobre cómo responden las instituciones frente a la violencia de género y particularmente frente a la violencia sexual. En general, en los medios, lo que solemos ver es siempre son siempre casos en los cuales la respuesta del Estado llega tarde. Entonces, nuestra iniciativa generó interés porque puso el foco en algo muy concreto, que es cómo actúa el Estado en los primeros minutos cuando una víctima de violencia de género solicita ayuda o entra en contacto con el sistema. Por otro lado, también creo que despertó interés porque la propuesta o nuestra capacitación no se trató solo de señalar problemas, sino de trabajar en conjunto con la institución policial para poder mejorar su capacidad de respuesta, fortaleciendo estándares de derechos humanos como la no revictimización y el enfoque centrado en la víctima. Y esto refleja una demanda social que es cada vez más clara, que es que las instituciones respondan de manera profesional, respetuosa y eficaz frente a estas situaciones. En este sentido, como ya comenté antes, lo que tratamos de focalizar y tratamos de valorizar el trabajo de la policía en cuanto a lo que realmente luego viven las víctimas al transitar el sistema de justicia en Argentina. Y entendemos que la diferencia entre justicia y silencio, o que una víctima se retire o desista de su denuncia, muchas veces se define en estos primeros minutos de intervención estatal. También se recibió mucha atención justamente porque trabajamos de manera, si bien haciendo y reconociendo y valorizando el trabajo de la policía, también pudimos fortalecer su conocimiento respecto a las particularidades que tiene la violencia de género, y también trabajamos de forma muy práctica sobre casos concretos y qué se puede mejorar en cada una de esas intervenciones.
Thank you, Jamila. The final open question is, what next for you in terms of police engagement? Hagin, Irfan?
Yeah, so for us in Pakistan, like the immediate next step is like getting our training package we have worked on into the hands of decision makers who could institutionalize it. And we are working, like we have developed a facilitator guide and a compliance checklist, also like agency specific reference cards grounded in the law, and all of it is designed for like frontline practitioners, which are the police, the medical legal officers, and the prosecutions also. But training that happens once, like it does not change the systems, so it needs to be adopted into a formal training curriculum of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa police. And the advocacy piece is equally important. So our baseline evidence is like zero functionality of the special sexual offenses investigation unit and the anti-rape crisis cell. So there are like zero rights notifications across like 19 respondents during our survey. So it's kind of documented, specific cited evidence that government and donor audiences can act on. And the next phase is putting that evidence directly in front of like the legislators, to which has a formal mandate to compel compliance.
Thank you, Irfan. And I saw that also Hagin and Sanrim, you wanted to participate. So maybe Sanrim, if you want to complement Irfan's answer.
Yes, please. Thank you, Catalina. I think that a strong coordination between the police, prosecution, and medical legal is very important. So, in this case, it's my opinion that I have to force the district administration or to request them to, to plan a meeting, monthly or quarterly meeting, to discuss the progress of anti-rape crisis cell, the police, and the medical legal. So in this way they will this is also like a way to implement the law. And secondly, I will work on community to build their trust on police, to report their cases and coming to police station to report their cases. So I this is my plan.
Thank you very much. Hagin, do you want to answer the question?
Yes, for us as Gumzo and for the fellowship, I look forward to maintaining now accountability for the work that we have done. As highlighted, we have seen that we have a gap in terms of knowledge, in terms of the police, knowledge gap by the police. We are going now to look forward to improving that by also just looking at the kind of information that we are packaging to them, the kind of support that we are supporting them. As you have said, through the fellowship, you have realized that they are willing to support us in terms of actualizing the policies into actionable procedures at the grassroots. So we are going to structure that not as a way not to look as a way of criticizing what they are doing, but also just to support them. As we have said, police are among the first chain persons on this hierarchy of response to justice. So we need really to strengthen that support that we have with them, and also to improve the coordination that we have with them. And also looking forward to regular briefing from the community, and also more stakeholders engagement. As we have said, this requires a collective approach to eradicate gender-based violence to women, girls, and gender minorities.
Very much, Catalina, and to all of the fellows for this sharing. Has been really, really informative on what work you have done. My first question is to Yamila. So I know in Argentina, and Catalina, you will help with the translation. I understand in Argentina, you and Jimena have used the media quite strategically, and it's worked in your favor in pushing the public and the institutions to respond to some of the very serious cases of violence that you are all representing in the court system. I was wondering, with this media attention that came up after you worked with the police, what are the lessons you are learning in terms of how you can engage with the media in order to encourage the police as well as institutions to take gender-based violence seriously? Was this a strategic effort on your part, or can this be a strategic effort that other fellows and other advocates should also undertake? Over to you, Catalina.
Sí, desde que empezamos con las fellowships, ya hace algunos años, varios de los casos que llevamos adelante tomaron repercusión mediática, y esto lo hicimos en articulación con otras organizaciones de la sociedad civil y con periodistas que se dedican exclusivamente a tratar casos de violencia de género. En este sentido, nosotros entendemos que los medios de comunicación cumplen un rol social importante en la prevención y erradicación de la violencia de género, y la manera en que se tratan esas noticias también es muy importante. Por eso siempre tratamos de ser muy cuidadosas en la forma de comunicar y de articular con medios o con periodistas que se dedican a estos temas y que saben cómo abordarlos, porque justamente también la revictimización suele producirse también a través de los medios de comunicación, sobre cómo cuentan una violencia sexual, sobre cómo relatan que sucedieron los hechos, sobre cómo aparecen o se cuelan estereotipos de género, muchas veces en las noticias también. Así que nuestra estrategia siempre fue articular con, utilizar las redes sociales, obviamente que hoy en día uno de los medios de comunicación más importantes, pero a su vez con los medios tradicionales, trabajar con profesionales que están capacitados en violencia de género. Por otro lado, en lo que respecta puntualmente en la capacitación que llevamos adelante en Tierra del Fuego, también tengo que decir que tuvimos mucho apoyo del gobierno de la provincia, y eso colaboró en que los medios tradicionales se hagan eco de la capacitación que se llevó a cabo, y también recibió mucha atención justamente por esta cuestión de que se revalorizó el trabajo policial de alguna manera. Como organizaciones, en general las organizaciones civiles, o está esta idea o este mito de que las organizaciones siempre señalan más los problemas, pero lo que hicimos fue realizar un trabajo articulado y conjunto, revalorizando justamente este rol y la importancia que pueden tener en la erradicación de la violencia de género, en que se activen los mecanismos de protección, en que las noticias no lleguen únicamente los casos en su desenlace más trágico, sino justamente enfocado más en la prevención.
My next question is to the rest of the fellows regarding the challenges with engaging with the police. So I know that sometimes you have a good coordination and engagement with the police, but sometimes there are challenges due to attitudes, due to, as Irfan, you were sharing, isolation of duty, so not seeing their role in the value chain, due to sometimes being under-resourced, institutions that are not supported just don't tend to also function well. How do you balance your role as keeping an eye and holding the police accountable to their functions, and at the same time engaging with them as collaborators? It seems a difficult balance that you have to strike. What are your strategies for how you are doing this in your context? Maybe I direct the question first to Hagin, then Irfan, and then Samrin. Thank you.
Oh, yes, indeed. Indeed, engaging the police is for us, and especially as a grassroots organization, is quite challenging because at some time we come up with a methodology. For example, for us, we have a system, that, as I've said, the paralegal mechanism whereby they have to engage with someone else. And this maybe they will require extra resources, and maybe they will look at this as an extra additional responsibility to their work. But for us, we do a lot of community engagement with them. We also invite them to some of our forums that we have and do also capacity building for them. We do trainings for human rights to them. We also do award them with awards, for example, acknowledging their efforts during visits by their superiors, and also acknowledging them during our own internal activities. That is also one of the ways that we are also engaging with the police. Apart from that, we are also supporting them with community social responsibility activities. For example, we have desks within the police stations and within the sub-counties that we have engaged with. So we volunteer sometimes and cater with them and give them a desk, or even sometimes merchandise. For example, the water bottles that they normally go to do the survey or the community walk around with. So we give them a water bottle that is branded with our name and also with a mantra. So that also supports them and also gives them that zeal to be part and parcel of our community strategies. Yes, thank you.
Over to you, Irfan.
Yeah, I think the strategies Hagen shared is somewhat also similar to us, and like for us, the most effective strategies for police accountability is anchoring every demand to the state's own legal obligations. When you point to a specific section of the law and say this is like what you are required to do, it is much harder to dismiss that external advocacy. But accountability cannot rest on the law alone. It needs to be made visible through documentation, compliance tools, and like data that show the gap between what the law requires and what is actually happening on the ground. Coordination is a key where it this becomes real. So when police, prosecutors, and the medical legal officers are in the same room and a prosecutor explains directly that an incomplete investigation file caused a case to collapse, or an MLO hears that their report did not meet the standards that the court requires. So the accountability becomes professional and relational, and not just like regulatory. So that kind of cross agency engagement builds a shared understanding of how each institution failures affect the other, and is far more sustainable than top down instructions. And critically, most legal frameworks already contains formal oversight mechanisms, and we just have to explore and uh, engage with police and all, like the medical legal officer, the prosecutors, and the police, to formally have strengthen this oversight mechanism. So all this work is activating those mechanisms and ensuring civil society had a documented evidence-based role in feeding that information to them.
Sí, en cuanto a brechas o barreras que podemos identificar, son barreras de formación, como veníamos diciendo, el quizás no entendimiento de las características propias que tiene la violencia de género. Entonces sí identificamos que no hay quizás una hostilidad hacia tratar estos temas de mejor manera o una reticencia a tratar estos temas de mejor manera y abordarlos de mejor manera, sino una falta de comprensión de la complejidad del tema y de lo que realmente significa y cuánto puede impactar la intervención de la policía en los primeros minutos en la vida de muchas personas y muchas víctimas que llegan al sistema de justicia. Por otro lado, también hay barreras procedimentales. Si bien acá trabajaban con algunos protocolos, no son protocolos que estén muy institucionalizados y que sean realmente una base fuerte de actuación de la policía en este tipo de casos. Así que también identificamos que es importante trabajar en determinados protocolos y entender, obviamente, que esto es una obligación del Estado, no es una cuestión de voluntad o no, sino entender los procedimientos como parte de una responsabilidad que tiene el Estado argentino ante la comunidad internacional y ante su propia población. Y por otro lado, quizás sí podemos identificar en Argentina que hay una regresión en las políticas de género por el contexto social, económico y político y el desfinanciamiento de los programas de violencia de género y de las instituciones de violencia de género. Entonces, hoy en día sí nos encontramos con esta problemática que atraviesa a todas las cuestiones vinculadas con este tema, así que creo que es un momento muy importante como para seguir trabajando en estas cuestiones y que no haya una regresión todavía más profunda.
Thank you, Yamila, Samreen, Irfan, Hagin, for sharing your experiences working with the police in your own communities between Argentina, Pakistan, and Kenya. I think what we are seeing is strikingly similar patterns where each of your countries have passed, I would say, quite comprehensive laws and procedures. And the logic is such that if laws are passed and if institutions exist, then cases of rape and sexual violence would end up being reported, investigated, prosecuted, and punished. But even reaching the reporting stage is something that remains a big issue in most parts of the world, however developed or underdeveloped your systems are locally. And this then points to one key thing. It does not matter really just the institutions alone or the logic of the law alone. If there isn't a coordination between the different actors, then those institutions, as Irfan and Samreen said, just remains in theory, in paper. And what is then needed, I feel, just from the work that you've done and seeing the work that you've done, we actually really need mission-driven people. We don't need people who are just sitting in their functional occupations, that if I'm a medical legal officer, this is what I do. If I'm a police officer, this is what I do. And so I'm looking at your work as driving that mission that you all have through these institutions to strengthen the coordination between these different bodies, because without the coordination, it just doesn't work. Something I'm seeing as well, that police engagement, that your work requires even more dedicated and strategic police engagement. So the strategies that you use to engage with the police, both in terms of accountability as well as collaboration, needs to be deeper. We need to go deeper. This, of course, includes training, consultation. Hagin has come up with interesting, even including merchandising with the mantra. I would love to know what the mantra is in the merchandises, Hagin. And I love to see all these creative practices of including police in, again, Hagin, including police in your social and your community work. So instead of you going to the police, you bring the police into the community. I think these strategies are extremely remarkable. And I'm seeing that you are all trying various and different kinds of strategies. So I do invite, for those listening and also fellows amongst ourselves, to think deeper about what engagement with the police means for the long term. Samreen was also sharing more interagency meetings, because that's where we can push the coordination. We can make sure that everyone's sitting in the room and no one is pointing to the other for the work to be done. The work is not being done by single arms of the state, but it's done when everyone collaborates together. And that's what I'm also picking up from it. I think most importantly is coming from that awareness on gender-based violence, as Yamila shared, the word she used is, it's a very specialized subject. It's not just that violence against women is wrong, but there are techniques, there are power dynamics, there are underlying social, cultural, religious, political factors that determine if a survivor goes and reports the crime that's committed against her. And so this also emphasizes that the awareness work is sophisticated. It's not just a general level of understanding. And for it to be resonating, it needs to be context specific, it needs to be deep, and it needs to be locally tailored. So I like the idea of fellows and individuals working with the police to do more specialized engagement and ensure that gender becomes a cross-cutting discussion point in all meetings, in all analysis of the laws, procedures, and in all of the stock takes that we do in terms of whether the state is fulfilling their obligations. With this, I really picked up on a lot of things, and honestly, I would really love to go and do a deeper dive with each of you on the strategies that you have shared and have worked with, because this is going to continue to become a very important part of civil society's work to end gender-based violence, and you are all doing such an amazing job. So thank you for sharing. I really, honestly, I really love to work with all of you. I'm inspired by all of you and your leadership. That's my last word, and over back to you, Catalina. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. And I wanted to also congratulate all of you, because something that Jamila mentioned at the end resonated a lot with me, and is how political situation is right now worldwide is being so difficult. We are facing a lot of global issues, a lot of war and conflict, and as a consequence, also, we are facing a backlash regarding sexual and gender-based violence, and in general about gender. So for me, hearing all your insights, stories, examples, but basically this goal, because it's a great achievement that all of you are having until now and today, despite this crisis and the bad consequences for gender, is a huge milestone. So hearing from you that in Pakistan, Argentina, and Kenya, 3 different countries in different also continents, with political crises and conflicts, and that you are able to have such a great engagement with police officers, that is not at all something easy to develop, or at least to achieve. So yeah, it inspires me, and it keeps me like thinking about that there is hope, and we are doing something very powerful and very strong. So in the end, what we are telling here today is gonna be much better in the future, I hope. So yeah, this is my last comment. I know it's difficult, but you are doing great. And I feel also proud to say that we are working all together, and that you trust also in Sahar, and Sahar, of course, trust on you. And yeah, so you can feel proud of yourself today after this conversation. And also, I hope that hearing from others, you can also take some good examples and inspiration to keep doing the job that you are doing until today and for the future. So yeah, this is my last comment. Thanks all of you.
Muchas gracias, Catalina y Natalia y Sahar. Y felicitaciones a mis compañeros y compañeras, Arfran, Jain, Samrin. Estamos muy contentas de poder formar parte de este lugar del mundo, y esperamos seguir contribuyendo a lo que nos convoca, que es prevenir o de alguna manera aportar a la erradicación de la violencia de género. Y es muy importante contar con organizaciones que promuevan esto y que den lugar a defensores de derechos humanos en este contexto. Gracias.
Yeah, and I would also like to add, listening to all the colleagues from Kenya and Argentina today. So what struck me is that across very different contexts, we are all working on the same fundamental issues and questions. And also, I would like to share that to this Sahar Fellowship, I came into this fellowship as someone who believed in the law, and hopefully, and it has also proved that when I will be leaving it in like believing in the law even more, and also like much clearer about how much has to happen between legislation and justice, and how much of that work falls on people in rooms exactly like this one. And I'm really very much thankful to Natasha and Catalina for all your support and help during this fellowship program. And it's been a remarkable journey so far during this Sahar Fellowship program. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Last but not least, thank you so much for giving us a platform to showcase our work. As grassroots organizing, most of the times we are not featured in these discussions, and which again, it's one of the reasons why cases from the grassroots are barely or hardly being visible. But Sahara has given us an opportunity as grassroots organizing, and also minorities to come and have a space that is a safe space. As we promote our safe space outside there, we are personally also walking the talk. Thank you so much for the platforms. Thank you for this also engagement, and the conversation has really been impactful. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Um, and special thanks to Natasha and Catalina. Your efforts for the implementation of anti-rape law is highly appreciated, as you people, people sitting in other countries, they are sharing their experience. We also want to replicate their good practices. So this is a good initiative, and I am really thankful to you and your team. Thank you.